Everybody hear me okay? Well, it's just absolutely great to be with each and every one of you. And I remember back some time ago, Lisa, it was 4 or 5 years ago when we were just meeting over there in a little small room. And now look at how great this incredible group of conservative Republican women has grown under the leadership of Lisa and Bonnie and all of the great women with this stuff. So hats off to each and every one. Back in 2008, we ran our first campaign. And we had our campaign headquarters over there off of Southwest 18th Street. And that night, Bonnie and I were together. And of course, we came up a little short in that first endeavor against Congressman Ron Klein. But even more so, we stood there and we saw what happened with President Obama winning that election. And Bonnie was standing with me as President came out up in Chicago and made his speech. And Bonnie had tears rolling down her face. And I told Bonnie at that time, just hang in there, because we will restore this republic. And whatever this gentleman seeks to do to our great constitutional republic, the United States of America, we will repair it. We will fix it. We will recommit to our constitutional values and our principles. And we will reclaim that sense of American exceptionalism and pride. So Bonnie, we're almost there. We got halfway there in 2010. We're going to finish it in 2012. So with that being said, and of course there's a debate tonight, we were having a really good conversation over here, and that leads into what I want to talk to you all about. What is the nature of presidential election cycle politics now in the 21st century? Because I think that's what we're missing out on. And as we were talking about it here, we must come to understand that there are two different phases to a presidential election cycle. The first phase is an image phase. And that is the phase where lots of times the Republican Party does not do very well. Because when we put our candidate up, what do people see? The last time that we really had an image that was strong and conveyed American values, that was with Ronald Reagan. And people just looked at him and they got a sense of security, they got a sense of strength. And then of course when he opened up his mouth, it was like music to our ears. And that was the thing that I enjoyed when I was a young college student at the University of Tennessee, because I had never heard anyone articulate a vision or a sense of Americanism like Ronald Reagan did. And it was all about being grounded and rooted in principles. That's what we're missing out now in this 2012 election cycle. We have to convey that right and proper type of American image that can connect with the entire spectrum of the American electorate, the American populace. But the other thing is that we have to have a message that we can convey. And so tonight I want to talk to you about what is the Republican message. Because I think that each and every one of us, just the same as I recommended going back and reading Sun Tzu's Art of War, we all need to go back and read and understand, how did we get to be the constitutional republic that we are? What are the type of things that our founding fathers read that established this great nation? Because until you understand, until you read those books, until you read our founding documents, you're not prepared to go into the arena of ideals. When you are prepared, you can be victorious. See, we need to go back, and there's a great book out there that I think you should read by Dr. Larry Arnn, A-R-N-N, who is the president of Hillsdale College, which a lot of people will say that Hillsdale College up in Michigan is the citadel of conservative thought. And he is an incredible constitutional scholar. And this book that he has out right now is called The Founder's Key. And as I'm going through and reading this book and understanding the relationship between the Declaration of Independence through the Federalist Papers and to the United States Constitution, when you have that type of ammunition, no one will be able to debate against you on the principles and values upon which this constitutional republic was established. See, when we talk about this thing of limited government, what really does limited government mean? Well, first and foremost, you've got to go back and read through the entire Declaration of Independence and understand that the Declaration of Independence was about the grievances against King George and the British Empire. The Declaration of Independence was about the overreach, the overarching intrusion of government into the everyday life of the simple American colonists. Not just about taxation, but it was about being told that you had to house British soldiers in your homes. Those were the type of things that were reprehensible to the colonists. It was an infringement upon what they felt was their individual liberties and freedom. And then when you read and understand all of these different grievances, then it helps you to understand how they created this great thing called the United States Constitution. You have to go back and read people like John Locke, who first talked about life, liberty, and property, because those were the three preeminent things in respecting the individual. And of course, our founding fathers took property and they changed it to the pursuit of happiness. And if we understood what limited government means, we would understand that the other side wants a guarantee of happiness. That is not what our founders promoted for this country. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A pursuit of happiness that leads us to understand that America is about an opportunity. That is why so many people have come to the shores of the United States of America, because it was a place where, based upon your hard work, your ethic, your drive, your determination, there was opportunity there for you to exceed as far as you wanted to go, or as little as you wanted to go. But that was the right of the individual to make that choice, to make that decision. And when you go through and you read the Federalist Papers, which gave justification as to why we needed to have this government and what would be the right and proper roles and responsibilities of this government, Federalist 51, powerful document. Then you get into the mind of James Madison and Alexander Hamilton as they went out and they had to debate this. Because remember, when those men went into the Constitutional Convention, they were only supposed to tinker around with Articles of Confederation. But God blessed them to come out with something that has now resulted in the longest running constitutional republic that the world has ever known. But there is a threat to that. Because as Alexis de Tocqueville said in the book Democracy in America, written back in the 1830s, the American Republic will cease to exist when Congress recognizes that they can bribe the public with the public's treasure. And that is exactly where we are today. When you think about the fact that a president can stand up on a stage and talk about how he's going to give American citizens $40, that's how far we have come away from the dream and the design. That's how far we have gotten off message in understanding this great country. So that's what we have to do. We have to go back and read Montesquieu. We have to read Rousseau. We have to read Voltaire to get that fundamental understanding of what they tried to create here. We have to understand what effective and efficient government is. We have to understand what a constitutionally mandated government is. See, so many people just go up and say, we want to make government small. That's not good enough. Explain to people why it should be limited government. Explain to people why it should be constitutionally mandated, so that we understand the roles and responsibilities, so we don't get to the point where a government is telling an individual American citizen what type of private sector commodity you must buy. Where the government is telling an individual private sector company that you must provide this type of service free of charge. That is not the right role and responsibility of government. When you understand that, then you can understand what we talk about when we say individual sovereignty. You're the preeminent entity in the United States of America. And when we start to subsume and take away your rights and freedoms, then we miss out on the fundamental thing, that key integral part that makes the United States of America the greatest nation that the world has ever known. Because we respect your ingenuity. We respect your ability to innovate. We respect your ability to create investment. The individual, their rights, their freedom, their responsibility and accountability. Because what happens when all of a sudden we don't make the individual sovereign, we make the individual dependent? When you look at what is happening in the United States of America today, the Heritage Foundation put out an incredible statistic last week. For the first time, those people who are on government benefits, they are passing the average disposable income of the American citizen. You can be on government benefits and get $32,738. The average disposable income, $32,300 some odd dollars. What happens as we get to a country where more and more Americans are dependent upon government? What happens when we get to a country and a state where there are more people receiving a subsistence check or employed by the government than are out there being the producers, innovating, investing, their ingenuity? It's very simple. That leads to the next critical thing. You destroy the free market system in the United States of America because you are producing an entitlement class over a production class. And when you produce an entitlement class over a production class, when the individual American looks down at their paycheck and they see that they're not working for themselves, they're not working for their family, they're not working to create a business or hire more Americans or expand a business, they're not working to be rewarded for that idea that they have. They're working for the state. That's how the free market collapses. What's even worse is when the government decides that they choose the winners and the losers in the free marketplace. What happens when the government decides that they're the new venture capitalists and they're the ones that select based upon their own ideological agenda, where they will take your hard-working, hard-earned taxpayer dollars and funnel them to those that they believe should be successful. That's how the government is no longer effective and efficient. That's how the government is no longer constitutionally mandated. That's how the government is no longer limited in its scope and its size. That's how the individual and their industrialism, which is what Ayn Rand talked about, is destroyed by the wrong type of tax and regulatory policies that emanate from a central government structure. Those are the three top parts of our message, who we are, what we should articulate. There are some people that don't think that there is such thing as traditional American values and culture, but there is. We have a language. We should honor that language. Anyone will tell you the one thing that unifies a culture is a common language. All you have to do is go north of the border, see how well it's working out in Canada when you have two different languages. We don't need to see that happen here. And also, we have to respect the basic institution of our marriage. We were just talking here at this table how Daniel Patrick Moynihan many years ago said, if you take a father out of the home, if you reward young women for having children out of wedlock, you will destroy communities. Today, only 23% of black children have mother and father in their home. When you do that, you destroy the individual's sovereignty. You make the individual dependent. You destroy the free market and free enterprise system because the hard-working American taxpayer dollars that could be out there growing businesses are going to a government that is provided for a dependent class. It's not going to provide economic freedom. See, all of these things are so interrelated. But if you don't understand the foundation, then you will never be able to articulate this message. And the last thing, we can make you as prosperous as we want. We can make you as individually sovereign as we want. We can get the government right structured. But if we don't protect the people, the last pillar, the fifth pillar of our message has to be a strong national defense. Ronald Reagan said it's so simple. Peace through strength. But when you look at what is happening in our world today, what we're doing to our United States military, much the same after World War II, and then came Korea. Much the same after Vietnam, and then we hollowed out, and then came Desert Storm. Much the same as we found ourselves going off to Iraq and Afghanistan. And I will tell you, the one thing that I've said to Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld when I met him, I said, you had it wrong when you say you go to war with what you got. That's not how you defend this country. You forecast, you understand who the enemy is, you understand their goals and objectives, and you develop the right type of national security strategies, defense industrial-based strategies to make sure that our men and women go to fight with the best tools that they can. And then you give them the right orders, rules of engagement so that they can be successful in the battle. That's our message. Now, what I would hope is that our candidates, as they are in this primary process, articulate our message and not allow the other side to drag them down into the rabbit hole. This whole thing about contraception is not about contraception. It goes back to effective and efficient limited government, understanding the First Amendment rights, understanding religious freedom, that the government should not be making laws that are intrusive against your free exercise of religion. When people talk about separation of church and state, challenge them, ask them, show me in the Declaration, show me in the Constitution. They can't. Because it was just a simple letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to the Danbury, Connecticut Baptist Convention that talked about here in the United States of America, we shall not have a head of state who is also the head of church. But if we don't understand our message, if we don't go back and read those letters of our founders, then the next thing you know, separation of church and state means separating us from the Judeo-Christian faith heritage that is found in all the writings of our founding fathers. That's why you have to study. That's why you have to understand. You know, when the president came out today and he said, we're going to fix this corporate business tax rate thing. We're going to take it from 35% down to 28%. See, that's when you break out your little Lee Corso pencil, like on ESPN College Game Day, and you say, not so fast, my friend. Because today, Wall Street Journal editorial, even though he's talking about lowering it to 28%, now there's a move to take dividends taxes from 15% to 44.1%. Now, if we do that with dividend taxes, think about how many seniors and pre-seniors live off of dividends taxes. What does that do to our economy? He talks about we're going to take it down to 28%, but now we're going to tax the profits of our corporations overseas. Why do you think they took their capital overseas? Because of the high corporate business tax rate. All you need to do, Mr. President, is say one-time repatriation of all the trillions of dollars of capital back to the United States of America to invest in production and manufacturing. If you understand the founding principles, if you understand economic principles, if you're out there and you understand our message, when the president is sitting there or standing there doing a State of the Union address, he looks up there to Warren Buffett's secretary and say, isn't it a darn shame that Warren Buffett's secretary pays more in taxes than Warren Buffett? No one called him out that night and said that's an intellectually dishonest argument. No one explained to the American people the difference between a personal income tax rate and a capital gains. But yet what he seeks to do well, what is the result of that? This quote-unquote income inequality, income disparity. So that now there's talk about taking capital gains rates from 15% to 30%, maybe 35%. What does that do to the free market system? What does that do to investment? How will we grow our small businesses? How will we grow production and manufacturing in the United States of America? We have the message. We have facts on our side. We just have to have the courage and the conviction and understand those words there. That no weapon formed against you can prosper if you stand on the truth. That is what we must have as we go through the rest of this year. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America is $15.3 trillion in debt. Today we spent $4 billion. That's what we spend every day. Our debt to GDP ratio is 102%. By the end of the year, we will be $16.2 trillion in debt. And our debt to GDP ratio will be 106%. The numbers are very much so close to Greece. The only thing that holds us together is that we still do have a large enough economy that keeps us propped up. But if we don't understand the message, if we are not able to make the contrast between who we are and who they are, between what our founding fathers established here for our children and grandchildren and what they're trying to steal and take away, the American birthright, then we are going to lose. Some of you are in contact with those nominees that we have out there. Tell them. Talk about the American message. Tell them to talk about the conservative message. Tell them that truly conservatism is classical liberalism. When you go back and you read those writers such as Hobbes, and you read Kant, this thing that we have now, this postmodern liberalism, is more so Marxist, more so socialist than anything else. Define who they are. Define the fact that they want to nationalize production. Define the fact that they want to create a bigger entitlement class that is wedded to them so that they can stay in power. Define the fact that they seek to have economic and social justice to create some type of social utopia. Define the fact that we believe in opportunity, they believe in regulating your achievement. Define the fact that they would like to take God with the big G away and replace him with government with the little g. That is our message in comparison to their message. And I've seen this group grow so greatly. And the reason I believe this group has grown greatly is because more people are waking up to understand that this is a clear and present danger for the future and the legacy of the United States of America. There is no turning back in this battle. There is no surrender in this battle. Failure is not an option in this battle. But the only way that you're going to be able to be successful when you go into that arena is to be armed with the truth and the knowledge, foundational principles of these United States of America. The Republican message, the conservative message, is the American message. It always has been, and it always shall be. This party was established to make men free, because you cannot have free market and free commerce if you don't have free men and free women. That's the history and the legacy of the Grand Old Party. Tell people that history and legacy. My challenge, as I close tonight, you got to talk to 5 people. 5 people that don't agree with you. You must make 3 of them. Talk to 5 people. All I want you to do is to get 3 to think about the American message, the American principles. I don't care if you ask them to read the Declaration, the Constitution, Ayn Rand, Art of War. Find a way to get them to understand what this country was established upon. Because this is going to be, I believe, our greatest moment. Because there is an awakening in this country that you can't think that it's just going to happen. The people in this room are not going to be the deciders in the election of November 2012. That staff over there and their friends are going to be the ones that make the decision. Your children and your grandchildren, you're going to have to talk to them. If you leave your children and grandchildren with the estimated debt that we're looking at 10 years from now of $26 trillion, you will only have yourself to blame for crippling them and not passing on the birthright that your parents and your grandparents and the generation of this magnificent American woman fought for and left for each and every one of us. May God bless you all, and God bless these great United States of America.